I find it truly astonishing that House Republicans have brought us here today to discuss ways to unleash America's workforce while they are actively abandoning workers. How exactly are we supposed to unleash anything when federal workers are being threatened by an unelected billionaire? When critical government services and authorized funds are being disturbed at a whim? When worker protection, basic safeguards against unsafe working conditions and employment discrimination are being undermined? We are already hearing reports that the Trump administration has begun firing many workers at the Department of Labor and the National Institute for Occupational Safety and Health. Ranking Member Scott and I recently sent a letter to HHS demanding more information about these staffing cuts and grant distributions. We have not heard anything back yet. Dr. Sherholz, I want you to help us understand how these attacks on critical agencies will impact worker safety. What does it mean for workers if these agencies lose significant numbers of federal employees?
What OSHA does is protect workers' health and safety by passing laws, by passing regulations, publishing regulations, enforcing those regulations. When they have less personnel, they will be able to do that less effectively. America's workers will be less safe on the job, full stop. The Wage and Hour Division, for example, they enforce wage protections. They make sure, their workforce has already been shrunk dramatically, so their low-wage workers today lose tens of billions of dollars a year in the form of wage theft by their employers, employers not paying minimum wages that they are owed, not paying overtime that they are owed. We cut Wage and Hour Division, and that skyrockets even further. Workers will be hurt by actually being hurt on the job and by losing wages that they were legally owed.
Yeah. And who really benefits when agencies lose this capacity?
Okay. The people who benefit are bad apple employers. They benefit because they are able to cut corners on worker safety protections. They're able to cut corners on actually paying their workers. They just don't have as much oversight over what they do. So bad apple employers gain over workers. Bad apple employers gain over lawful employers because then they are in a competitive advantage over lawful employers. And then the other group that benefits from this are the wealthy who are going to be the disproportionate beneficiaries of the tax cuts that these kinds of agency cuts are going to help pay for.
Appreciate that. Thank you so much. And I have to say, these attacks will have, as you just said, real and devastating consequences for working people in this country. It's about thinking about economic mobility. It's about thinking about job security. It's, at minimum, thinking about institutional stability. And what we are witnessing that is taking place in this country really is something that I find very outrageous and shameful. And I'm glad that we are having this conversation. I hope that we get to have many of these conversations. And lastly, before I yield back my time, Mr. Molino, Ms. Molino, why do you believe workers suffering heat exhaustion is not a work hazard?
It is a public health hazard, and OSHA is limited by what the authority that Congress has delegated it. OSHA has authority to regulate and oversee occupational hazards.
Yeah, standards, right?
Occupational hazards.
Yes. And why would you not think it is not an occupational hazard if someone is being forced to work 8 hours under 120 degrees without getting regular breaks?
And employers are already taking action to protect
workers. So you believe
from
employers should have the responsibility to decide who dies and who survives in the heat?
They have a responsibility to keep their workers safe, most definitely, but that is separate and apart from
So
OSHA's
you're saying
authority.
those employers who have not done that, who have seen people die at their workplaces in places like Texas, it's just because they're bad people and we shouldn't have the responsibility of protecting the workers, is what I hear.
That's not what I'm saying, but thank you.
I thank the gentlelady. I recognize now the gentleman from California, Mr. Kiley.
Thank